Hello, this is Judy Chicago's The Dinner Party, an installation that debuted in 1979. When I first viewed this piece, I was struck not only by the size of the sculpture as a whole, but also by the level of detail that went into each individual place setting, specifically the increasing relief of the plates in the sequence. I was also intrigued by the size and shape of the table. Its triangular shape is clearly vaginal, but also suggests a feminist revision of the idea behind the Arthurian round table. As a triangle, there is no true head of the table, ensuring that the identities and voices of each of the women seated there remain unique. One place is no more valid or exalted than the other. With visual art, Judy Chicago establishes a true polyphony of repressed and unmerged voices. The Dinner Party also manages to take what seems like craft, or a strictly domestic endeavor, like setting a dinner table, and turns it into a complex work that deconstructs the binary of high and low art. The 39 place settings form a unified wall of altars that circumscribe 999 other names of important women from history that, practically and logistically, cannot be seated at the table, but are nevertheless honored there. My chosen criteria for selected invitees was fairly simple. 1, I chose those who simply can't be ignored, and 2, I chose writers that have influenced me over the years in some way, shape, or form. My first choice of invites was an easy choice: Kamala Harris. She is the U.S.'s first female vice president and is also the first African American and Asian American woman elected to such a high position in the U.S. government. She was also my first choice in the 2020 Democratic primaries. Because of her many accomplishments, Vice President Harris seemed to me the natural choice for the first invitation, and also someone who would feel honored to be included there. Adrienne Rich is generally considered to be the godmother of feminist poetry in the U.S., at least in the latter half of the 20th century, and also as an innovator and advocate of lesbian poetic discourse. Though she died in 2012, Rich wrote for 33 years after Judy Chicago's installation piece first appeared, which is why I justify her as a suitable candidate for an invitation, given that all 39 of Judy Chicago's invitees are all dead now. Adrienne Rich demonstrates that a poet's work is not merely a pantheon of important poems, but also a testimony to a long, arduous struggle of personal and artistic self-realization. Leslie Marmon Silko is an American poet, novelist, and essayist of Anglo-American and Laguna Pueblo descent. She is considered one of the key figures in what is known as the Native American Renaissance, a designation that has drawn some sharp criticism from various critics. Silko's work explores themes of Laguna Pueblo history, the clash of civilizations, persistent racism in America, and Anglo-American imperialism. The structure and diction of her poems is a continuation of the oral tradition typically associated with Native American mythology. Louise Gluck is the most recent Nobel laureate in literature. She has also been awarded the Pulitzer Prize, the National Book Award, the National Book Critics Award, and the Bollingen Prize. What I admire in her work is that she manages to accomplish in verse a fairly illogical strategy of moving from particulars to generalizations. What is closest and most important to her, she manages to universalize in order to include her audience in the scope of her artistic vision. Gluck's work is lyrically compact and focuses on fairly romantic common themes that date back to the 19th century, which include nature, death, trauma, loss, desire, and persistent loneliness. Themes that are strongly personal and yet common to all people.